You spent 3 hours on that car. 3 full hours in the driveway, suds running down your arms, back aching, sweat stinging your eyes, and you finished with what looked like a show car sitting right there in your own driveway. The paint was deep, the glass was spotless, every panel reflected the trees across the street like a perfect mirror. You stood back, crossed your arms, and for about 4 minutes, everything was right with the world. Then you drove it around the block, pulled back into the driveway, cut the engine, and walked around to the front, and your stomach dropped. Right there on the hood, across the roof, all over the windshield, spreading out like a slow motion disaster that had already happened before you even noticed it, were hundreds, then thousands of white crusty rings baked directly into your paint by the afternoon sun. Not surface dust, not pollen. Hard, crystallized, calcium-packed mineral deposits that had dried so fast and so deep into the surface of your clear coat that you could run your fingernail along the edge of one and feel the ridge. The kind of spots that laugh at quick detailer spray. The kind that look even worse after you try to buff them out with a dry cloth because now they have smear trails radiating off every single one of them like tiny little crime scenes spread across your entire hood. You grabbed your phone, typed in the problem, and got hammered with the same recommendation from every forum, every detailing channel, every sponsored article. Buy a water spot remover compound and polish those out. So maybe you went to the auto parts store. Maybe you spent $30, $40 on a gel or a spray that promised to dissolve water spots with professional strength chemistry. You followed the directions. You applied it to the panel, worked it in with a foam applicator, buffed it off, and yeah, the spots looked a little better, some were gone. But then you stepped back into the sunlight, tilted your head at a slight angle, and saw something that made the water spots look like the opening act. Swirl marks everywhere. Thin, circular scratches spiderwebbing across the surface of your paint, visible in every direct light source, turning your once perfect finish into something that looked like it had been polished with a steel wool pad by someone who really hated your car. You did not create those marks, the product did. And the company that sold it to you knew exactly what it was going to do, and they sold it to you anyway. That is not an accident. That is a business model. But before we get to that part, let us talk about the actual solution, because it has been sitting in your kitchen this entire time. It costs about $1, and it works by doing something that every $30 compound on the shelf fundamentally cannot do without destroying your clear coat in the process. The answer is white distilled vinegar. Standard, grocery store, generic brand, half a gallon for under $2, white vinegar. Not apple cider vinegar, not balsamic, not specialty cleaning vinegar, not industrial concentration. Plain white distilled vinegar, 5% acidity. The same stuff sitting in your pantry right now, next to the olive oil. Here is what it does that nothing else can replicate. It does not grind. It does not cut. It does not polish, abrade, or physically alter the surface of your clear coat in any way. What it does is chemistry. Pure, targeted, specific chemistry that goes after the exact molecular structure of the problem and dissolves it without touching anything else. And in about 5 seconds of contact, the water spots are gone. Not reduced, not faded, gone. Lifted completely off your paint as a harmless liquid that wipes away with zero resistance. Now you need to understand why this works, because once you understand the science, you will never waste money on another polishing compound for water spots ever again, and you will also understand exactly how badly the detailing industry has been playing you. Hard water is water that contains a high concentration of dissolved minerals, primarily calcium and magnesium, picked up as the water travels through underground rock formations before it ever reaches your tap. When that water lands on your hot hood or your warm windshield and starts to evaporate under sunlight, the water molecules leave. The minerals do not. They stay behind, and as the last of the moisture pulls away, those calcium and magnesium particles bond to each other and to whatever surface they are sitting on through a process of crystallization. The white crust you are seeing is not surface-level contamination. It is a mineralized deposit that is chemically bonded to the surface of your clear coat at the molecular level. It is effectively a thin shell of alkaline mineral compound sitting directly on top of your paint. Now, there are two ways to remove something that is chemically bonded to a surface. You can physically break it apart by abrading it with something harder than the deposit itself, which is what every polishing compound, every water spot remover gel, every cutting pad solution on the market does. Or you can chemically dissolve the bonds that are holding it together, which is what acetic acid does. Acetic acid, the active compound in white vinegar, is a mild organic acid with a very specific attraction to alkaline compounds. Calcium carbonate and magnesium deposits are alkaline. When acetic acid comes into contact with them, it initiates a neutralization reaction. The acid attacks the alkaline mineral bonds at the molecular level, breaking them apart without any friction, without any mechanical action, and without touching the clear coat underneath, because your clear coat is not alkaline and is therefore essentially invisible to the acetic acid. The minerals go from a rigid crystalline structure to a dissolved liquid state in seconds. You wipe them away. Your paint is completely untouched. That is the entire mechanism. That is the whole story. It is not complicated. It is not a secret in the scientific community. It is basic acid-base chemistry that every high school textbook covers. But it is a secret in the detailing industry because it costs $1 and eliminates the need for a product line that generates millions. So let us talk about those companies. Let us actually look at what is inside the $30 water spot remover you have been buying, because the marketing on these products is genuinely impressive. They use words like molecular treatment, mineral dissolving technology, clear coat safe formulation, and advanced surface chemistry. They put it in sleek packaging with technical looking labels and sell it next to professional grade machine polishes in the premium section of the detailing aisle. And when you read the actual ingredient disclosures, when you get past the proprietary blend language and the trade name obfuscation, what you find in the vast majority of commercial water spot removers is cutting compound. Heavy abrasive particles suspended in a carrier solution, sometimes with a very small amount of mild acid added just so they can technically claim a chemical action on the label, but the primary mechanism of removal is abrasion. These are micro-abrasive particles that are harder than your mineral deposits, but also harder than your clear coat. When you apply them and work them into the surface, they are physically grinding the deposits off the paint, and they do not stop at the deposits. The particles do not know the difference between a water spot and clear coat. They grind everything equally. Every single application removes a measurable layer of your clear coat. Automotive clear coats are typically between 1.5 and 2 mils thick on a factory paint job. That is extremely thin. Professional detailers use paint depth gauges before any polishing work precisely because cutting through the clear coat is not a hypothetical risk. It is a mathematical certainty if you keep polishing without measuring. Every time you use a cutting compound for water spots, every time you run a machine polisher loaded with an abrasive product over your hood to fix those white rings, you are spending a portion of a finite budget that you can never replace without a complete respray. Once the clear coat is gone, it is gone. The paint underneath has no UV protection, no chemical resistance, and no physical barrier. It oxidizes, it fades, it starts to peel, and the detailing companies know this. They have always known this, because the customer who bought the water spot remover compound will eventually need the paint restoration kit, and then they will need the oxidation treatment, and then they will need the professional grade protection coat to try to save what is left. It is a product ecosystem built on the intentional degradation of your paint, sold to you as a solution to a problem that a bottle of white vinegar from your kitchen would have solved without any damage at all. If you are tired of being the end consumer in that chain, if you are done handing money to brands that are engineering you toward their next product by destroying your paint with their current one, subscribe right now. Every video on this channel is dedicated to the same mission, giving you the actual science behind car care so that you never get sold a problem disguised as a solution again. Now, let us get into the exact method for using vinegar on water spots, because there is a right way to do this, and there is also one critical mistake that will cause more damage than the original problem, and you need to understand it before you touch your car. The process itself is simple. You need distilled water, white distilled vinegar, and a clean, high-quality microfiber towel. You do not use tap water for the dilution because tap water contains the exact minerals you are trying to eliminate, and you will potentially redeposit them during the process. You mix the solution at a ratio of 50% white vinegar to 50% distilled water. This dilution is important. Full-strength vinegar at 5% acidity is not dangerous to automotive paint in short contact applications, but diluting it gives you more working time and reduces the margin for error significantly without meaningfully reducing the effectiveness of the acid reaction against the mineral deposits. Soak your microfiber towel thoroughly in this solution. You want it genuinely wet, not damp. Lay it flat and completely over the water-spotted area, making full contact with every spot. Set a timer for 60 seconds. You do not need to press, rub, agitate, or apply any mechanical force whatsoever. The acid is doing all of the work. After 60 seconds, lift the towel and look at the surface. In nearly every case involving standard hard water deposits, the spots will be visibly dissolved or will wipe away with the absolute lightest possible touch. If there are particularly heavy deposits, older spots that have been baking in the sun for weeks, you can lay the soaked towel back down for a second, 60-second application rather than increasing any mechanical pressure. Now here is the part that is not optional. This is not a suggestion. This is the difference between solving the problem and creating a more expensive one. Immediately after wiping the vinegar solution from the surface, you must neutralize the paint. Mix a small amount of car wash soap with clean distilled water, spray or apply it generously to the treated area, and wipe it off with a fresh, clean microfiber towel. This step breaks down and removes any remaining acetic acid from the surface of the clear coat before it has the chance to dry. The reason this is critical has everything to do with heat and concentration. Acetic acid at the diluted concentration you are applying is completely safe for clear coat in wet form with brief contact. But if you allow it to evaporate on a warm or hot panel under direct sunlight, the water content evaporates first and the acid becomes progressively more concentrated on the surface as the liquid shrinks. That concentrated acid in direct sunlight on a hot clear coat will etch. An automotive etching is not a stain, it is not a deposit. It is a physical alteration of the clear coat surface where the acid has eaten into the material itself, leaving microscopic craters that scatter light and appear as dull, cloudy, permanently discolored zones on your paint. Etching of that severity requires machine polishing with heavy cutting compound to level the surrounding clear coat down to the depth of the damage, which costs you exactly the clear coat thickness you were trying to protect, or a complete professional respray of the affected panel, which will run you somewhere between $500 and $2,000 per panel, depending on your location and the shop. So the neutralization step is not bureaucratic caution, it is the chemical completion of the process. Vinegar on, 60 seconds, wipe, soapy water, wipe again. That sequence is complete. That sequence is safe. Skipping the last step because you are in a hurry is how you turn a 60-second fix into a $1,000 paint job. Once you have completed the neutralization, you can follow up with a spray detailer and a fresh microfiber wipe to restore surface clarity and add a light layer of protection to the treated area. If you want to take it further, a spray wax or a quick sealant application over the cleaned panels will create a hydrophobic layer that causes future water to bead and roll off, rather than sitting on the paint long enough to evaporate and leave mineral deposits behind in the first place. That is preventative chemistry working in your favor, and it costs almost nothing compared to the polish and compound cycle you have been sold as the only alternative. Now hold both options in your mind at the same time and look at them honestly. Option 1. Drive to the auto parts store, spend $30 on a water spot remover gel that is primarily a cutting compound with premium branding, apply it to your hood with an applicator pad, work it into the surface, buff it off, watch the swirl marks appear in the afternoon light, know somewhere in the back of your mind that you have just permanently thinned the clear coat on your car, and accept that you will be doing this again in 3 months when the next round of spots appears and the previous solution wears off and somehow the spots look worse each time. Option 2, walk into your kitchen, grab the white vinegar that has been sitting there the entire time, mix it with distilled water in a bowl, soak a microfiber, lay it on the paint, wait 60 seconds while you drink a coffee or answer a message, wipe it off, spray a quick soapy rinse, wipe that off, and walk away with spotless paint and a clear coat that is exactly as thick as it was when you started. because you used chemistry to dissolve the problem instead of abrasion to grind it away. One of those options costs $30 and destroys your paint gradually. One costs less than $1 and preserves your clear coat completely. You already know which one the detailing companies want you to choose. Right now, at this exact moment, you probably know at least one person who parks their car near lawn sprinklers every single night and has never in their life been told that the water spots piling up on their paint are etching their clear coat deeper every time they try to polish them out. Every time that person buys another bottle of water spot remover, they are getting closer to a full panel respray that they have no idea is coming. Send this video to that person right now. Not tomorrow, now. Because the spots they have today are still chemically reversible with $1's worth of vinegar and 60 seconds of contact time. The spots they will have in 6 months after 3 more polishing sessions might not be. Share this. Save their paint. And while you are thinking about the cars you care about and the people you care about, hit the subscribe button because this channel exists for one reason and one reason only. To make sure you never have to pay for a problem that a pantry staple could have solved for free.